Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will kick things off in a couple of minutes as folks start to trickle in. All right. Thank you so much for joining everybody on this Friday afternoon. My name is Julia Scully, and I work for Capital Good Fund on the Georgia Bright team. I just want to cover off on a couple of housekeeping items before we kick off the presentation. First of all, we'll be recording the webinar. So in case you miss anything, don't worry. We will follow up with the link in the presentation slides. And then feel free to ask questions in the chat throughout the session. We'll also have time at the end to cover off on anything we missed, but we would love to hear any and all thoughts and questions from you. So don't hesitate to jump in. I am going to pass things over to the Office of Sustainability team. Chandra, you can take it from here.
Thanks so much, Julia. And thank you to all of the city employees that signed up and made it here to join us. We are super excited about our partners here on the Georgia Bright program and being able to offer this learning opportunity to city employees. When Deputy John R. Seidel and I were presenting the work of the Office of Sustainability and Resilience at a recent mayor's cabinet meeting, we talked about the Georgia Bright program, and the mayor immediately jumped in and said, well, those guidelines match a lot of our employees. Let's make sure they know about it. So Deputy Seidel and the Georgia Bright team sprung into action, and the result is this webinar today. So we are super excited that you are here to learn about this program, because meeting our clean energy and climate action goals really depends on you. It depends on you, it depends on your neighbors, it depends on your houses of worship, all of these places that need more access to solar energy. So here in the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Resilience, we focus on science-based analysis informed by the community to promote initiatives related to environmental sustainability, climate action, the green economy, and food security, all rooted in environmental justice, which is one of the ways, one of the reasons that this program is so important. We have a goal to reach 100% clean energy for 100% of Atlantans by 2035. We have a goal to reduce our carbon emissions by 40% by 2030. And we also have a goal to make sure that all Atlantans live within half a walkable mile of fresh, nutritious food. And all of those goals together really require partnerships with our city employees and all of our residents across the city, because we can't meet these goals without working together. So I'm looking forward to learning with you during this presentation today. And we are always here to answer questions. And feel free to reach out to me and John R. at any time. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Chandra, and for the whole city, such a great partner on helping us design this program and now roll it out. Before we get into the meat of the presentation, we're just going to do a couple of introductions My name is Andy Posner. I'm the founder and CEO of Capital Good Fund. As I'll describe in a moment, we're kind of the nonprofit engine, perhaps for lack of a better word, behind the program, offering the lease itself. And we've been really honored to partner with the city and a lot of other great stakeholders, including some of the other folks on the webinar who will introduce themselves now.
Yeah, hi, pleasure to be with you. My name is Seth Gunning. I am the founder and operator of SunPath Solar. We're very privileged and honored to have been selected as one of the vendors for Georgia Bright. Myself and our team are sort of responsible for some of the community education and sales. We do a lot of the engineering and design on all of the solar energy and battery energy storage systems that we're providing to homes and nonprofits through the program. We're also helping with some workforce training to help some of our installation partners gear up their teams to hire new workers who are just entering the clean energy field.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kaveh Kamune. I'm also with my partner Roji, who's on the call. We are the founders of Better Tomorrow Solar, a local solar installation and engineering company headquartered in downtown Atlanta, just a stone's throw from City Hall. We are also very proud to be part of this really historic program. It's the first of its kind. A residential lease is a first of its kind. It's a very difficult financial model, but we're very happy that Capital Good Fund has been able to make it work. We have signed up. We'll talk about how many we've signed up in a second, I suppose. But it's going very well, and we're very excited to be part of it. I don't know if Roger have anything to add to that.
Everything Kaveh said, I'm glad we are part of this program. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be the installer for this program.
All right, well, thank you so much. So I want to start by telling you a little bit about Capital Good Fund, because as I mentioned, we are a tax-exempt nonprofit that is the program designer for Georgia Bright. We're offering the leases, servicing the systems and the like. I think it's important for you guys to know a little bit about us. So I started the organization 15 years ago. We are headquartered in Providence, Rhode Island, but we operate in 11 states, including all of Georgia. And there was a question in the chat about eligibility, and this is available throughout the state, not just if you are in Atlanta. And we began operating in Georgia almost 2 years ago. In addition to the solar leasing program, we offer a variety of lending and financial coaching programs. At the moment in Georgia, we have an immigration loan available up to $20,000 for folks that are looking to improve their immigration status, whether that's apply for citizenship, a green card, asylum, that sort of thing. And then in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be launching our financial coaching program throughout Metro Atlanta, as well as a small dollar personal loan of $500 to $3,500, also in Metro Atlanta. And then we're advocating for clean energy and consumer protections nationwide, and including in Georgia. Last thing I want to mention is that we are a community development financial institution, which is a U.S. Treasury designation. And it's mostly relevant just because it's a very good housekeeping seal of approval. It's very hard to get and maintain. You have to have the best practices, ethics, transparency, and the like. Next slide.
Yeah, so let's start talking a little bit about why solar energy and how it might benefit your homes and nonprofits. As everybody on this call will be able to attest to, utility bills in Georgia are really high and only appear to be getting more expensive. Nearly 1.5 million households in Georgia live in high energy burden neighborhoods where over 6% of total income is spent just on utility bills. And neighborhoods in Atlanta really all over Georgia. Some of those are spending more than 10% of total income on utility costs. And this is at a time when solar energy is the cheapest new form of energy generation on the market today and could be accessible to homeowners and business owners, nonprofits, anybody who uses electricity. In Georgia, there have traditionally been some barriers to accessing clean energy, solar specifically. We have, as a state, a lot of solar on our utility grids. Like I said, solar is the most affordable new energy source on the market, and our utilities have been really good about adopting it in what we call utility scale solar. So if you drive out into the county, you might see really big solar farms where the utility is producing power from large scale solar operations. What we have very few of is what we call behind the meter solar or rooftop solar, where it's installed on your property, on a business's premises, and that energy is produced on the roof and used in the building. And part of the reason that we have very little of that is because we have 100 something utilities, almost 100 utilities in Georgia, electric utilities, and almost every one of them has a different solar metering policy. So it can be really confusing to try and get solar in Georgia. We also lack some fairly basic utility policies that can incentivize or help homeowners and businesses access solar. And because of that, we have lacked some of the financial mechanisms that have helped solar be more inclusive in other states, where without having to have $15,000 to $30,000 in cash and liquid capital, or having really good credit to be able to go pull a large loan for your home, homeowners are able to access solar at no upfront cost and still see some of that significant savings on their utility bill at the end of the day. And that's, Kaveh talked about this being a first of its kind opportunity in Georgia, and that's what we're able to provide here with Georgia Bright. And I'll let Andy talk a little bit more about that.
So we really designed this program to ensure that clean energy is accessible to homeowners that maybe don't traditionally think of themselves as being likely to qualify for solar. Maybe they don't have perfect credit, they don't have a lot of income, they don't have equity in the home. As Seth talked about, energy prices have been rising, but also power outages are becoming more frequent and will be more so in a climate-altered future as we get more extreme weather events. And when you add that to the fact that the Inflation Reduction Act has a lot of policies that are quite transformational, you get to a point where now is the time to run a program like this to make solar and battery storage available to families throughout the state of Georgia. With a solar lease, you get solar without having any upfront costs, without needing to maintain the system. You don't have to pay off a loan if you sell your home. And also, really crucially, if you are a homeowner and you put on solar, you are eligible for a 30% tax credit, but you have to have enough taxable income to claim that. So if you put in a $20,000 system and you get a $6,000 tax credit, but you only owe $2,000 in federal taxes, then you're not getting the benefit of that other $4,000. The Inflation Reduction Act, however, now allows nonprofits to claim that tax credit. So by us owning the system, we are not only covering the maintenance, the upfront cost, we're allowing you to not have to pay off the system if you sell your house, but you can rather transfer the lease and the savings of the solar to the buyer. We're also able to claim the tax credit and use that to lower the lease payment. And there are other things that we can access, like something called renewable energy credits, that further lower that cost. We also have production guarantees, workmanship guarantees, and other things to make sure that the system performs as promised. Solar is not, leasing is not the only way to go solar, to be clear. And you are welcome to take advantage of the lower rates that we've been able to negotiate for installations if you want to take out a loan or pay cash. We're focused on the lease because we think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of families. particularly in a high interest rate environment like the one that we're in now, and particularly if you're not able to claim the full tax credit. Next slide. So I talked about some of these benefits. I will say, so the key thing on this program is that it's available statewide. You do need to own a home, have a roof that's in a condition to be able to support solar, and also not have too much shading. And that's something that the SunPath team will evaluate when they design the system. And the only other main criteria we have is that we're focused on homeowners that make $100,000 a year or less. Again, historically, solar has gone to wealthier families. We're trying to serve low to moderate to middle income families that have been a little bit left out of the clean energy transition, but pay the most on electricity. It is a 25-year lease, meaning that for the life of that, for 25 years, we own the system. The solar panels are warranted for 25 years. So they're going to be performing well longer than that, but certainly for the life of the lease. One of the things that we heard from the community when we were designing the system was that ownership was important. So the way that we account for that is that IRS rules require us to own the system for 6 years. But in year 7, you can buy back the system if you want, and you can do that every year between year 7 and year 25. To give you an idea, if the system was, say, $10,000, the buyout price is roughly $6,500 in year 7 and declines every year from there. So again, that's a way that you can take ownership if you like, or not. It's up to you. There is an annual escalator. So the idea here is that you would make 12 monthly payments of, say, $100, and then 12 monthly payments of $102.69 and the like. And the idea is that that's less than the rate at which electricity prices rise. And that's really key to allow us to deliver month 1 savings to you while still making this feasible for us and everyone else involved in the program. I've talked about the production guarantee. If you include batteries in your project, and 2/3 of our customers so far have included a battery, we will replace the battery after the warranty period ends. Batteries are warranted. Actually, we're using batteries with a 15-year warranty. So we also take care of that for you. And one thing I want to mention on the battery front is that if you install solar but don't include a battery and the power goes out, the solar actually stops producing. So it's only by adding a battery that you get that full battery, the backup in the event of an outage. And so we're typically seeing savings of $5 to $45 if you do solar only. The savings are a little bit lower if you add a battery, and you're kind of swapping that out for the benefit of the battery backup. Next slide. All right.
Yeah, so a little bit about the process. So if you go to the georgiabright.org website, you're able to fill out a very brief form with a couple of questions that help us to determine whether or not a solar energy system is right for you, one, and then if it is, what sort of size and type of system might be helpful. You'll also, at the end of that brief questionnaire, be able to schedule a time with somebody on the SunPath team to have a 15-minute conversation about the program, answer any questions that you might have, and then we'll have some questions for you about your home. One of the things that is very helpful for us is if you have a copy of a recent power bill, if you can provide that either at the time of filling out the form or when we get on the phone, that piece of information best helps us size a solar energy system that's appropriate for what you need in your house. And then with that, we will generate a model of your home. I'm showing a sort of sample here of a customer that we'll talk about in a moment. And analyze the shade and irradiance, the solar access that your roof gets to identify what's the best place on your house to put solar on. And we can show you, what the size of the system is going to be and how much energy it will produce every year, what your lease payment might be, what your new total electricity bill will run you. And that means your new lease payment plus your remaining Georgia Power bill. So in most cases, we're cutting Georgia Power bills by 50% or more. And then the lease payment comes in at, like Andy said, somewhere between $5 and maybe $50 a month, less than the savings that you're seeing on your power bill. So this chart will show you what your new or what your current power bill is in red, and then what your lease payment plus your new power bill would be for every year through the term of the lease agreement if you chose to keep the lease for the full life of the system. I'll stop sharing really quickly. Where did can you pull the slide back up, Julia? Thank you. Sorry about that. I didn't know it'd kick us out. If you decide to move forward, once you sort of pick a system that is best suited for you, we'll send you a lease application. It's a really straightforward process. Actually, having gone through it myself, it takes 5 to 10 minutes to fill out. After you're approved you will be asked to upload a couple of pieces of information, things like a photo ID. Andy, can you speak to the other requirements, proof of income?
Direct deposit forms that most people pay via an ACH withdrawal, so we get like a ACH deposit form, but pretty standard things for any financing product.
Great. And then so after your lease is approved, we start the sort of solar installation process. And that right now is running pretty short. We're getting installs done in under 2 months from the time that you sign a lease. The installation on your home will actually only take a day or two, maybe 2 or 3 if you have a battery included in your system. And then we have to get after the system is installed, we have to get permissions from both your permitting agency, so that's going to change depending on where you live, and your utility. That utility approval process can sometimes take a few weeks, but after we have that approval, we will turn your system on and your house, will start to be powered by solar energy. And I should say that so it's Earth Month, and anybody who signs a lease, goes through this process and signs a lease in Earth Month is going to get a $250 Visa gift card from Georgia Bright, just as an incentive to help us all go solar in Earth Month.
So this slide puts in one place the numbers that Seth just for the customer that Seth just shared with you. This customer, this leaseholder, put 6.8 kilowatts. That's 17 panels, I believe, on their house. Their pre-solar bill was $181 a month, and they, I think, actually got their first post-solar bill. We had projected about 92. I don't know exactly what the power bill was, but the customer wrote us an email saying that she's very pleased with her results. So I assume we hit the target or did better. The lease payment for this particular project came out to $59.86, and that would amount to, given the savings, when you add the lease payment and the current post-solar bill, the savings is about $28 and change a month, and over 25 years, that's $13,655. Again, just want to emphasize that there was no cost whatsoever up front, so this is basically free money. So that the return on investment can't be calculated because it's just there's nothing invested, and you get $28 a month each month. Now, I also want to specify this. These are the numbers for the first month. Georgia Power bills, and many people on this call live in Georgia Power territory. But even if you don't, the other utility companies usually follow Georgia Power's prices. they have the rates have risen close to 50% since 2019. So I don't expect that for the next 5 years that it will raise that much, but we expect it to raise quite a bit. So these numbers will just get better during the 25 years. These are based on next year's projection. So I'm going to the next slide. I think that is a picture. Is that a picture of the installation that we were talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
And,
call.
yeah. And I think this is the quote that I was referring to in the previous slide. And and we have 31 of the lease signed. Not all of them are completed, but we hope to have all 31 as happy as this family.
So I just want to highlight, because we're a nonprofit, we're very rooted in community. We're not based in Georgia, so we did a lot of work to build local partnerships. In addition to working with these wonderful solar installers that are truly reputable, we partnered with municipalities, Southern Environmental Law Center, Georgia Interfaith Power and Light, Georgia Wand, a lot of wonderful organizations to build trust, embed in the community, and the like. I don't know if we want to start answering some of the questions. I've kind of been typing responses, but can you go to the next slide, Julia? Okay, but before we do that, let's cover the Georgia Bright for Nonprofits, and then we can start answering some of the other questions in the chat.
Yeah, a really exciting part of this program is that Georgia Bright is also available to any nonprofit. So houses of worship, community action organizations, community service organizations, government agencies, nonprofit schools. Oftentimes, these sorts of institutions are paying some of the highest rates, so dollar per kilowatt hour, of any other rate class in the state. And they're operating on sort of razor thin budgets to do this mission focused work that they're doing. So this is a great way for those sorts of organizations to, again, access solar and the big benefits of reduced power cost without having to have really big capital budgets to purchase a system or to maintain it over the course of its 25+ year life. So yeah, any church that you might be involved with, any community organization that owns their building or has a really long-term lease on their building, and you think might be interested in reducing their power costs, we would love to help support their keeping their dollars focused on their mission and the good work they're doing in the community, rather than paying high power bills.
Great, and then just a couple more housekeeping items before we go through some more questions. You can follow Capital Good Fund across social media. We share a lot of good Georgia Bright news, relevant events that we have upcoming, and things like that. You can always reach out to our team via gabright@capitalgoodfund.org, as well as scanning that QR code or visiting us through that bit.ly link. So please get in touch if you have any additional questions as you start looking through the application and things like that.
And Julia, if you wouldn't mind going back to the slide that shows the monthly payment. There's a question from De Valerie, who I pronounced that right. She asked, they asked, so is the monthly payment for the panels, lease, and the energy usage bill? So I think I understand the question. Basically, in Georgia, we're not able to eliminate your bill because of net metering policy. So typically, as Seth and others have noted, you will see a reduction of roughly 50%. Each system is different, but roughly 50% in your bill. So after the installation, you will have a reduced payment to the utility and a lease payment. And that plus that equals a savings. So you can see in this example, the customer was paying $181 before the solar project. Their new bill is $92. lease payment is just under $60, and that results in that $28.83 in savings. So you're still paying the utility and you're paying us separately, but those two are less than what you were paying before. And then go ahead, Seth.
Oh, no, I think that was, Devaloria asked a follow-up question, talking about her bill specifically. So this is a great example to sort of answer your question. This 6.8 kilowatt system is a 17 panel system. You ask about a 16 panel system. So your lease rate might be $55 a month. That's just an estimate. And savings will vary both home to home based on what your roof line, where it's pointed and how pitched it is and how good it is for solar and what shade is around. And it will vary based on who your utility company is and how they value solar. Yeah, so very generally, we'd love for you to sign up. Our team can get you an exact quote once we know your address and have a chance to look at your utility bill. And we will send you a document that's got everything laid out really clearly. Yeah, but generally speaking, net, people are saving between $10 and $50 a month on their total utility costs. So that means that their new utility bill and their new lease payment is that much lower than what their utility bill would have been had they not done anything, not included solar on their house.
And to add to that, the prices of utility bill, it just keeps going up. So that savings keeps getting bigger and bigger over the years.
Excellent. We have another question from Herman, who said, so you're saying in Georgia, you cannot eliminate your power bill no matter what size system or battery storage you need or want?
There's a common misconception out there that you can't go off grid in Georgia. You can, but it takes a very large amount of capital to do that. You need a lot of solar and a lot of extra battery. And Georgia Power, every utility has base fees that solar can't help offset. They're there even if you don't consume any energy from the utility. If you still have a utility meter on the side of your house, you're still going to pay a power bill monthly. Best case scenario, we're offsetting utility bills by 75 or 85% on a monthly basis. So we can really work those power bills down really pretty low. But in very rare cases is somebody going off grid and sort of removing that utility meter and not paying a bill at all.
Excellent. I'm just looking through the chat. Nicholas asked, can you give an example of home size in SF, so square footage?
Yeah, that's a great question, one we get a lot. So it's really important to know that, we're sizing and designing all of our solar energy systems to meet your power needs. So a family that lives in a 1,500 square foot home might use a lot more power than a single person or a couple that doesn't have kids in the same home who works out of the house during the day, right? So two identically sized homes might use very drastically different amounts of power, and we would size their solar energy systems differently. So we're not just looking at how much available space do you have on your roof. We're not just, slapping solar panels all over the roof wherever we can. We're being really meticulous in how we do that, so to ensure that we're only asking you to pay a lease payment for the energy that you're going to use in your house, right? To offset having to pay for that power from the utility company.
Excellent. John just asked, so based on the 25-year payment, it will come out to $27,000 to the nonprofit above what we pay Georgia Power. How does this program differ from normal solar companies that we can go with?
Yeah, great question. I wouldn't say that it's above what you pay Georgia Power, because remember that your Georgia Power bill is cut in half. So there's, in this case, that $13,655 savings is including the lease payment. The way that this differs, so I mean, you can, so first of all, you don't need to get the lease. So like you can choose to get a system designed by SunPath and finance it in a different way. You can take out a loan, you can pay cash. We don't offer that in Georgia. So the difference there is that you own the system. So the tax credit, you can claim it if you're able to. You'd be responsible for maintenance and paying loan payments and that sort of thing. But you are definitely welcome to do that. The lease is just our way to make this a little more accessible. And so there aren't really a lot of lease companies operating in Georgia because the economics of solar are pretty tight. And the kind of finance companies operating the space are pretty, I don't want to say predatory, but high cost. They will put like a 40-50% hidden dealer fee into the system price, and that sort of thing. And also I'll note that we've been able to negotiate much lower costs for the system than you would just get if you kind of went off one-on-one with an installer, because we're doing, it's a bulk program that we've been able to use to drive down costs. But Seth or Kaveh or Roshi, anything you want to add on how this program differs?
I think one of the main points is there is no upfront costs, which is huge. I don't know what, I mean, I think, Andy, you covered everything. I'm not aware of any other program in this state where you don't have to pay anything upfront in order to get panels on your home. Seth and Kaveh, I don't know, is there anything else you can think of?
I mean, like Andy said, folks are certainly able to go get a loan right now, but in the environment that we're in with interest rates in excess of 7, 8, 9%, those do often mean that you're not able to realize any cash flow savings on a month-to-month basis because your loan costs are much higher than the savings that you're seeing on your power bill. And like Andy said, dealer fees or financing fees oftentimes drive the capital cost of that loan way above what it would cost if you had the cash to just purchase it right then and there. So a $20,000 solar energy system might turn into a $30,000 system before even adding any of the interest if you go pull out some of those loans. Yeah.
And of course, I think our partners here would agree. We encourage you to see that. I mean, most companies offer the assessment, both the financial and the technical assessment for free. You can request proposals from them and compare.
Excellent. Just making sure that we covered off on all the questions. There was an earlier one that asked, who gets the 30% tax credit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are receiving it because the Inflation Reduction Act now allows nonprofits to claim it, even though we don't have a tax liability. But to be clear, we don't keep that money. So basically, we have to borrow the money we use to purchase the systems. So the tax credit is just used to reduce how much we have to borrow, and therefore how much we have to charge on the lease. So we're not making 30% or anything like that. None of that's going to us. It's just reducing what the lease payment is upfront.
Excellent. Another question is, what has the public reaction been to the pilot program so far?
I think, it speaks for itself. We've gotten 33. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The testimonial, I think, is a good example of how it's going. I'm sorry, go ahead, Andy.
Yeah. No, yeah. 33, we just signed our 33rd lease this morning, and we've gotten a lot of really great coverage about the program. I think it's a little bit, the one area where we're working is getting more folks to sign up. I think it's a new concept in Georgia. It's not a very robust market. It's not something people have heard of or necessarily thought would be applicable to them. But we're really excited about the partnerships we're building and the momentum we've gained. And something I really want to mention is that the whole point here is to prove the model works in anticipation of significant federal funding that's coming. Just yesterday, the EPA announced $20 billion in grants to establish a series of national green banks. And then the state of Georgia will probably receive another 150 to 250 million dollars to do somewhere between 5 to 8,000 more residential installations over the next 5 years. And every system we do helps us learn about how to make the process more efficient, how to tailor our marketing. So you are also, in addition to getting the benefit for your own home, helping us prepare the groundwork for really significant scale. We're creating jobs for, you know, folks in the local community, helping local businesses grow, and all the other benefits of clean energy.
Excellent.
Is a question about any options for household income over 100K? I mean, you know, we're not, it's not a government program, it's a privately run nonprofit program. So for the pilot, we have some flexibility. So I would say if you're not wildly over, that's okay. If you're significantly over, then I think that, you know, I don't know, Seth or Roji, if you guys have a finance option you're recommending right now, I would typically suggest talking to a bank or credit union to see if you can get affordable, you know, relatively affordable financing at this time.
Honestly, Andy,
Yeah.
there's we are not aware of any bank offering this sort of deal. I mean, we even recommend this program to our customers if they qualify.
Yeah,
There
if we
is.
do have other financing options, so if anybody's interested in comparing other avenues for procurement, when you schedule your consultation call with our team, just let them know that you're interested in looking at other loan options, and we can compare those side by side for you.
I just put in the chat, the Clean Energy Credit Union is a reputable, really good financial institution that you could look at. Because we definitely, you know, we definitely encourage you to finance this however works best for you.
Excellent. We have another question regarding an example. If your bill is $244 now, cut in half, that's $122, plus the $60 lease payment, that's equal to $182 per month versus $244. And are they understanding that correctly?
I would say results may vary based on from home to home, but yeah, you've got it right. That's the goal, and that's what we're seeing in ideal situations where the house has really good solar access.
Awesome. How long does it take to get a free solar evaluation?
We have appointments available this weekend. Pretty much every day of the week, our team is standing by ready. When you go to sign up, you'll see a calendar of all of our team's availability, so you can sort of select something that's convenient for you. The consultation, again, takes 15 minutes. We will go and do some work on our end after we've gathered some information from you. It takes us less than a day to put a proposal together, and then we'll schedule either a time to come out to your house to check out things like the structure of the roof and your electrical infrastructure to make sure everything's solar ready, or another phone call or a meeting like this where we can share the proposal with you virtually and show you what your options are and answer any questions that you have. That whole process, depending on your availability, can really take 2-3 days. Yeah, so pretty quickly.
And something I want to emphasize is that there are, unfortunately, a fair number of bad actors in the solar space. I mean, you get this with contractors in general. So we put a lot of effort. We put out a request for proposals, did a very intensive vetting process, and selected the groups on this call, as well as Be Smart Home Solutions, which is construction and installation in kind of Savannah and other parts of the state. We were very, very careful about, and we're very happy with who we're working with. So we definitely encourage you, if you want to get multiple quotes, just be wary and careful about shady practices. For example, because Georgia doesn't have net metering, it's very easy to tell someone they're going to save a lot of money, more money than they actually will. We are very conservative in our savings estimates because we don't ever want somebody to come back and say we promised more than we delivered. So that's just, I wanted to highlight both how much effort we put into that, and just to say we want people to go solar no matter how it's done, We just want people to get the best quality with whatever approach they take.
Excellent. And then another question, how much longer will the program be available?
So we've done 33 contracts, like I mentioned. We have enough for the pilot to do somewhere between 150 and 165 systems, depending on how many people include batteries. And we would love to get those signed up in the next couple months. Again, so we can get all those lessons learned, all those systems producing power in advance of the additional funding coming in to scale this beyond the pilot program. And that $250 incentive is available only for this month for anybody that signs up. We also have a refer a friend program. So once you get a lease and you refer folks, you can also get an additional incentive for that. You know, word of mouth is one of the best ways for a program like this to grow.
And then Andy, am I correct that the nonprofit program systems just need to be installed this year? Which really
Correct.
means that nonprofits will need to have had their lease completed probably by the end of September to give us plenty of time to get a system installed and placed in service.
Yeah, so if you have your house of worship, if you volunteer at a community center, anything like that that you think they might be interested, send them over. We'd love to talk to them about solar. Chandra just put a nice resource about net metering. I apologize, it's kind of a wonky term, but yeah, it's mostly relevant because that's why it's hard to eliminate your bill, and again, crucially, why it's easy to fudge the savings estimates if you don't have a reputable firm doing that.
At the risk of being repetitive, it might be worth just saying that, you know, net metering is if you're sending power back to the grid. If you can't use your solar in the house in the moment it's created, and if you don't have a battery, that excess power goes to your power company. And with net metering, they give you a credit, a retail credit, right? They credit your bill the same amount that you pay when you buy energy from them. We do not have that in Georgia, or very few utility companies, I will say, do anything like that. Most power companies will pay you a wholesale rate, or what they call an avoided cost rate for your solar, that can range anywhere from 2 cents a kilowatt hour to 10 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's really important to have a solar installer that understands what your particular utility company's metering policy is, so that they can accurately show you what your savings is really going to be.
Excellent. So there's no annual tax credit to the homeowner for the solar panels?
You know, if you own the system, there is. In a lease model, we are the owner. We have to be in order to claim the credit and to do the maintenance on all of that. And so the tax credit it's only 1 year. It doesn't happen multiple years. So in the lease program, again, we're claiming that credit and reducing the lease payment. If you finance it or pay cash for it, then you would be eligible to claim the credit. Again, the difference there is that it can only offset a tax liability. So if you don't owe more in taxes than the value of the credit, then you can't claim it.
So just as a quick example, if you got a system that on average systems are, let's say $20,000, 15,000, we'll use a even number, 15 or $20,000, your federal tax credit would be 6,000-ish. So if you don't owe that much in taxes throughout the year, then you would need to claim it over several years. But the tax credit is only a one-time 30% tax credit if you own the system. So if you purchase it or take out a loan to buy it.
Excellent. A lot of good questions. Feel free to throw any additional ones in the chat as we wrap things up.
Julia, I just thought I would share for my city colleagues here that the way the city of Atlanta has the largest municipal solar program in the state is a similar mechanism for that local governments can take care of. So we have solar on 26 buildings currently, 26 current city buildings. And we also do not pay an upfront cost for that. We enter into a 20-year lease agreement. And so there are day one savings for us as a city because we don't pay that upfront cost. That's sort of similar to the avoided cost that, or we consider that like a avoided project cost. And then the city is able to not only realize some savings on our city utility bills, which is good for us as a city, but also is helping us drive our clean energy and climate action goals. And we are continuing to expand that program. The airport just came on as our newest city department user over the last year.
Excellent. Well, if there's anything else that we haven't covered off on, feel free to jump in to our team. But otherwise, we will be sure to follow up with links to the recording as well as slides. And of course, just please feel free to reach out to us as you look through the materials and kind of start your application process, should it be a fit for you. We'd love to hear from you. And with that, we hope everybody has a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.